An important part in learning math is doing the work yourself. So it's helpful if you attempt these problems on your own, as I do them. It's helpful if you pause the video before I do the next step, and then try it yourself, and then resume the video to see how your work compares with mine. So I recommend that you use this process while watching the video. This problem is solving an absolute value inequality, problem type 5. We know that this is an absolute value inequality because we see here an absolute value, and then we see here an inequality. And so the first thing we want to do in solving an absolute value inequality is we want to isolate the absolute value. We want to get the absolute value all by itself. Get rid of everything from the same side of the absolute value. So this problem is 6 times the absolute value of v plus 1 minus 8 is less than or equal to 4. So we need to get rid of the minus 8, and we need to get rid of the 6. We add 8 to both sides, and then we get 6 times the absolute value of v plus 1 is less than or equal to 12. Dividing by 6 gives us the absolute value of v plus 1 is less than or equal to 2. Now, because this is an absolute value inequality, we're going to have two pieces of the solution. We're going to have one piece for where the absolute value is positive, one piece where it's negative, and making the absolute value gives it a positive value. Because this is a less than or equals to, the conjunction joining these two pieces is going to be and. We're going to have one piece where it's less than or equal to something, and a different piece where it's greater than or equal to something else. Now, just as an aside, if this number here happens to be negative, then we know that it would have no solution because it's impossible for something, this absolute value, which is going to be positive or possibly 0, it's impossible for that to be less than a negative number. Now, let's go ahead and set up this inequality. So we have v plus 1, absolute value, is less than or equal to 2. So we have two solutions. We have the solution where this expression is positive. V plus 1 is less than or equal to 2. And then we have the solution where this is negative. And I like to include this extra step, most textbooks don't, of showing you why what happens when this is negative. So v plus 1, the opposite of v plus 1 is less than or equal to 2. So because this is an absolute value, it could be positive, as we see in this piece, or it could be negative, as we see in this piece. And when it's negative, the absolute value will make it positive. Now, notice that if this is negative, we can multiply both sides by negative 1, and we get v plus 1 is greater than or equal to. Remember, when you multiply or divide by a negative number, that changes the direction of the inequality, is greater than or equal to negative 2. Now, most textbooks start here, and you're welcome to start here if you want to. I just like to show this previous step just so you can see where this comes from, why it's negative, why the direction of the inequality switches. So now we have two inequalities joined by the conjunction and we just have to solve each one. So this gives us simply v is less than or equal to 1, and this gives us v is greater than or equal to negative 3, joined by the conjunction and. Now, because it's an and, oftentimes this is represented with a slightly shorter compound inequality, which we can see if we change the direction of this. Negative 3 is less than or equal to v, and if we combined this and this together, we would get negative 3 is less than or equal to v, which is itself less than or equal to 1. And that would be the solution represented as an inequality. If we were to represent this as an interval, it starts with negative 3, includes negative 3, so we have the square bracket, and it goes to 1, and it includes 1, so we have a square bracket. Graphing this on the number line, so negative 3 is here, 1 is here. It includes -3. It includes 1. And it contains all the numbers in between. And so that's our solution expressed 3 different ways.